Morning and welcome to the Dan Beasley Show. Today's show is about current events in the news and how they relate to prophecy and as according to the King James Version of the Bible. The Bible is the best-selling book of all time and the best-selling book every year. Even though it's not noted in the news media or the New York Times, it is still outselling every other book that ever existed. That's because it cannot be refuted. It has been scrutinized by the most uh, intelligent scientists and also the most, you know, avowed atheists, and still they cannot refute the truth that is in it. So it is called the book of truth and the book of love, and we will see as the world events unfold as foretold 2,000 years ago in the book of Revelation and in the book of Daniel and throughout the Bible. The Bible is like one third to one fourth prophecy, and the prophetic events have been taking place on time as they have been, such as the foretelling of the founding of the nation of Israel in one day, and also that Israel will be a stumbling block to the nations, and also it will be a flashpoint for the final war. And it looks like everything is getting together just for that. The Middle East is being realigned with the Muslim Brotherhood, which are the Shiite Muslims that believe in Sharia law, against the Sunni Muslims, which do not believe in such extremities. You have to look at it like this. This has all been foretold and it's preordained and it's going to happen. So I invite you to keep an open heart and open mind as we go through these news events. And then we will try to discuss these matters at the end of the show to give you some enlightenment as to how they relate to prophecy. Right now in the news today, we have where there's a report from Australia, I'm sorry, that a 19-foot long python broke into an Australian charity. In Cairns, Australia, Australian police were mystified by a chaotic crime scene, including a hole in the ceiling and a smelly pool of vomit-like liquid, till they found the culprit was a 5.7 or 19-foot long python. The snake weighed about 37 pounds and was captured a day after suspected burglary was reported at the charity store in Queensland in northeastern Australia. Its head was the size of a small dog, which means it probably could have consumed a small human. But before they found the python, investigators' working theory was that a human burglar with an appetite for destruction and a serious illness had gone on a rampage inside the St. Vincent de Paul store in the small town of Ingram. We thought the person had fallen through the ceiling because the roof panel was cut in half, all said, and when they hit the floor, they vomited and then staggered and fell over. That's what we thought happened anyway. The police now suspect that the python entered the store through the roof, which was damaged by a cyclone 2 years ago. Animal then plummeted through the ceiling, knocking over dishes and clothes and other items before relieving itself on the floor, and somehow managed to hide from officials until the staff spotted it lying aside a wall the next day. A local snake owner was called in to capture the reptile, which has been relocated to nearby wetlands. Next in the news is coming from the Middle East. It's talking about the Egyptian orders arrest of the Muslim Brotherhood leader. We know that Egypt is in turmoil right now. There is a kind of almost a miniature civil war taking place between the Muslim Brotherhood and the people of Egypt, the military of Egypt, that have overthrown their democratically elected president. And as a result, they are now engaged in bloody combat between the two. One side is trying to reestablish the president. The other side is trying to keep control, which is the military trying to keep control. The Egyptian authorities escalated their crackdown Wednesday on the Muslim Brotherhood by ordering the arrest of its spiritual leader, while the group remains steadfast in its defiance of the new military-backed administration and refused offers to join an interim government. Even as the new prime minister began reaching out to form a cabinet and restore a measure of stability, the military-backed leadership has come under fierce criticism from those who are supporting the toppling of President Mohamed Morsi last week. Several groups in the loose coalition participating in the political process have sharply criticized the transitional plan, saying that it sidelines them in the transition. Moving along, we have a story from the weather brought to us by Reuters. Tropical storm Chanto weakens on its way to the Dominican Republic. Tropical storm Chanto weakened considerably as it took aim at the Dominican Republic on Wednesday, and the cyclone appeared to be falling apart. The Miami-based National Hurricane Center said Chanto was packing winds of about 45 miles per hour early on Wednesday and still threatening to hit the Dominican Republic and neighboring Haiti with heavy rains and stiff winds. But the wind shear was causing it to degenerate, and the center of the storm was difficult to track, the Hurricane Center said. Chanto was located about 155 miles south-southwest of the Dominican capital, Santo Domingo, and was moving west at 29 miles per hour. Chanto was the third named storm of the 2013 Atlantic hurricane season, never posed an immediate threat to U.S. oil and gas operations in the Gulf of Mexico. Forecasters say it still has potential to do some damage in Haiti, the poorest country in the Americas, one of the most highly vulnerable to flash floods and mudslides because of its near total deforestation. In the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince, thousands of people live in the fragile tents and turpulence camps that more than 3 years after the country's devastating earthquakes. Tropical storm warnings were still in effect on Wednesday for the Dominican Republic and Haiti, also for Turks and Caicos, and the southeastern Bahamas. Moving along, we have a story coming our way. It's talking about the beekeepers are suing the EPA. National beekeeping associations, along with the National Honeybee Advisory Board, are suing the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for its approval of the pesticide sulfoxaflor. They say it's highly toxic to honeybees and insect pollinators. EPA's approval of sulfoxaflor with no enforceable label protections for bees will speed our industry's demise, warns Jeff Anderson, a beekeeper and one of the litigants in the case. Everyone knows that the honeybees are on the demise. They found that there was a mite that was killing the honeybees, and also pesticides, and the honeybee population has been decimated to the point to where they play an important role in pollinating the crops and the fruit trees, to bring about, harvest. And if these plants and crops and fruit trees and everything else that the bees are involved with do not take place, then there will be a huge shortage and a huge famine of these things. So famine is coming, folks. Famine is one of the things that's prophesied in the Bible. Okay, coming along, someone said in Fukushima, radioactive levels have surged 90-fold in 3 days. That's not good news. The rate showed that the radioactive contamination is quickly spreading in the disaster area despite ongoing efforts to decommission the site. The levels of cesium-134 and cesium-137 as high as 90 times greater than they were just 3 days prior. They quote, "We don't know why the level of radiation has surged, but we are continuing efforts to avert further expansion of contamination," a TEPCO spokesman stated. TEPCO is now attempting to determine if the substances are seeking into the ocean. A possibility is very likely, as the Japan Times reports. The substances which were released by the meltdowns of the reactors at the plant in the aftermath of the huge tsunami in March 2011 were not absorbed by soil, and they have made their way into groundwater. Subsoil water which flows out to sea, meaning the two substances could normally make their way into the ocean, possibly affecting marine life and ultimately impacting humans who eat sea creatures. The site of nuclear disaster has been plagued by a series of storage tank leaks among the list of other mishaps this year. Last year, similar reports have surfaced showing spikes of radioactive substances in groundwater. News arrives as several nuclear reactors in Japan move closer to restarting this week, before utility companies applying for safety inspections for 10 idle plants, or what the Associated Press called a clear sign of return to atomic energy almost 2.5 years after the Fukushima disaster. Our next story is coming from AFP, and it's talking about the unique Egyptian Sphinx unearthed in North Israel. This is Israel, not Egypt, that we're talking about here. Part of an ancient Egyptian king unique Sphinx was unveiled at a dig in northern Israel on Tuesday, with researchers struggling to understand just how the unexpected find ended up there. The broken granite Sphinx statue, including the paws and some of the mythical creature's forearms, displayed at Tel Hazor archaeological site in Israel's Galilee, or Israel's Galilee, is the first such find in the region. Its discovery marks the first time that researchers have found a statue dedicated to Egyptian ruler Mycerinus, who ruled circa 2500 BC and was builder of one of the three Giza pyramids, an expert said. This is the only monumental Egyptian statue ever found in the Levant, today's Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. Aman Ben Tor, an archaeology professor at the Hebrew University in charge of Tel Hazar Dig, noted. Is also the only Sphinx of this particular king known. Not even in Egypt was a Sphinx of that particular king found. Ben Tor said also that Mycerinus' name was carved in the hieroglyphics between the forearms, and their symbols reading "Beloved by the divine souls of Heliopolis." This is the temple in which the Sphinx was originally placed. Ben Tor said of Heliopolis, an ancient city which lies north of today's Cairo. Tel Hazar, which Ben Tor calls the most important archaeological site in the country, was the capital of southern Canaan, founded circa 2700 BC in its peak, covering approximately 200 acres and home to 20,000 Canaanites, and it was destroyed in the 13th century BC. So anyway, it remains a mystery as to what its significance is. And moving along to our next story. We're having technical difficulties with that story. So let's go into our analysis of this as it relates to the end time prophecies of the Bible, and how these contemporary events fit into the today's news. Okay, about the 19-foot python, the Bible says that there will be pestilences and around the world, and